Huh. Okay. Hello and welcome to today's session, and today we are going to discuss about Aristotle's poetics. So it comes under in your NET syllabus, UGC NET syllabus. It comes under unit number 8, that is literary criticism. And in this unit, the very first author we are going to discuss is Aristotle and his work Poetics. So before coming to Poetics, we will discuss about who Aristotle was. Aristotle was a Greek philosopher and polymath. Polymath means the person who knows many subjects, the person who knows many languages, and he is a well-learned man. And during the classical period, he belongs to ancient Greece, and he was the disciple of Plato, the Plato who has found the Peripatetical school, that is the school of philosophy in Greco-Roman period. Then Aristotle and his teaching, for example, he is in Lyceum. Lyceum is a school of rhetoric. Rhetoric is the study of language, especially spoken language. Much more about Aristotle. He was born in the city of Stagria. Aristotle was born in the city of Stagria, and his father was Nicomachus. These are not so important facts, but sometimes these could be asked. At 17 or 18 years of age, he joined Plato's academy. Why Plato? Why Plato is important? Plato is important because Aristotle is the disciple of Plato, and he contradicted what Plato said. Plato said that imitation is the root cause of a poet's breeding immoral or immorality. ठीक है? So according to Plato, so the poets breed on the grounds of immorality because they imitate something. Okay, so Aristotle contradicted Plato's idea, and he said that the most important or the foremost thing in poetry is imitation. Everybody learns from imitation. So his idea of imitating would be seen in the further discussion. So coming to the next. Okay. 1 second, give me a second. Coming to the next page. Okay. Aristotle has been called the father of logic, biology, political science, geology, natural law, scientific methods, and many other field of studies. What is today called Aristotelian logic is called as syllogism. You have studied syllogism. Syllogism is what? It is given by Aristotelian logic. Then Aristotle analysis and so these are not important. This area is important. See here, Plato's idea that Aristotle opposes, as I have discussed earlier also. While Plato believes that the object has universal and perfect forms, according to Plato, the object, anything, for example, you have this is a pen. See, this is a very ideal pen. No, it is not. Universe has something more ideal than this. So Plato believes that it is twice removed from reality. We have an ideal pen, then we have this pen, and when the poet writes about this pen, it is twice removed from reality. Once it is from its ideal form, and then it is from its real form. So that Aristotle opposes. While Plato believed that objects has universal and perfect form, Aristotle believed that it was not necessary that forms were always attached to the object and every object has to be analyzed individually. So Aristotle believed that there is no such ideal condition. We only learn from what? We learn from imitation. Imitation is at the center of our learning according to Aristotle. In general, Aristotle thought that Plato's theory of forms is related to whom? Theory of form is related to Plato. Remember that it is not related to Aristotle. Aristotle contradicted that theory. With its two separate realms failed to explain what is meant in order the world, how we could have object and knowledge of this world. So by imitation what we do? By imitation we learn about the things. So Aristotle believed that soul was the guide to the body and mind. He further divided soul into three forms. See, these are the three forms: emotion, then you have desire, and the reason. These are the three forms which Aristotle described in his poetics. These three forms could be asked in your NET exam, and one other form would be given, for example energy or anything else would be given, and you will be asked that odd one out. So what is the odd one out? Energy is the odd one out. Okay, according to him the soul is the part of reality. He believed that soul was the form of living thing and was inseparable from the body. So there are some important works of Aristotle which could be asked in any exam, NET, SET, be it any other competitive exam, that is dialogues. One work of Aristotle. You have monarchy, then Alexander. Why Alexander? Alexander the Great. He was the disciple of Aristotle. Aristotle taught Alexander. Then the customs of barbarians, natural history, organon, that is related to logical thinking or syllogism. Logical thinking or syllogism. Then we have on the soul, rhetoric. The most important is rhetoric. Rhetoric is the study of what? Is the study of speech, study of oratory, speech, or you can say oratory. Okay. Then we have educational ethics, Nicomachean ethics. This is also important. Why it is important? This work is important because the name Nicomachean is the name of Aristotle's father, and his son's name also is Nicomachean. Then we have metaphysics, politics, and poetics. Poetics, what we are going to study now. Now coming to poetics, the most important Greco-Roman literary work, that is poetics. Before coming to poetics, this work is from critical literary critical or criticism. This is the very first work we study under the unit number 8, that is in your syllabus of NET, SET, you can see literary criticism. So under literary criticism, this is the very first topic, we can say that. Before coming to the topic, I would like to describe about what is criticism. The word criticism is not negative. People often misinterpret this word as negative word. This is not a negative word. This criticism, especially literary criticism, describes about the merits and demerits of literary text literary text. Okay, it explains about literary text. What are the merits and demerits of a literary text? So it is not a negative word. Whenever we understand or whenever we come across this term criticism, we often think that it is a negative word. It is not a negative word. It in fact shows us that what is the positive or what is and negative prospects of a text, especially of a literary text. Okay, you have seen movies also. In movies we have different types of critics, and what critics do, they tell us about how the movie was and they give their own opinion about the movie and the performance of various actors. Okay, coming back to the point, poetics is the earliest surviving work of Greek dramatic theory and first extant philosophical treatise. Treatise means a short work, for example essay kind of work, to focus on literary theory. It is the surviving work of Greek criticism which talks about the literary theory. In this text, Aristotle offers an account which refers to poetry and more literary, the poetic art deriving from the term for poet, author or maker. So he has, from this particular work, it is written in around circa. Circa is approximately. The word circa means approximately. It is written in 335 BC and it defines what is the poetic art, and he used the term poet, author or maker. Aristotle divides the art of poetry into verse drama. Verse drama, for example, you have comedy, tragedy and Satra play. Satra plays are short play performed during longer plays. For example, in Ramayana we have the story of Bali and Sugriv and the story of Hanuman. So all these things were called as Satra plays. Satra plays are something which is in the play itself. Okay. Then coming back to Aristotle divides the art of poetry into verse. The genres all share the function of yes, this is the important part. Mimesis. Mimesis is the imitation of life. Imitation of life. Imitation or the term mimesis is very important. And what does it mean? In literature, it means that every piece of art is an imitation of life itself. So whatever literature you are reading, be it drama, poem, any other topic, it is an imitation of an ideal form, imitation of life itself. So mimesis is the imitation of life, but different in three ways that Aristotle discussed. So medium of imitation. What is the medium of imitation? Medium of imitation means there will be music, harmony, meter in any work. So different ideas of imitations were portrayed by Aristotle. So the medium of imitation would differ in the music, rhyme, harmony, meter and melody. For example, we have drama and poem. So in drama, we have different sort of meter, we have different sort of rhyming scheme, and in poem, we have different sort of rhythm, melody and meter. So that is the different type of imitation. Then imitation of object. So difference of goodness in character. See how the characters are depicted in any literary genre. In drama there is another type of imitation of characters, and in poem there is another type of difference in character. So that then we have manner of imitation, how the things were presented, that is called the manner. That telling a story or acting it out, if you are telling a story, then what it is in the form of poem, or it is in the form of fiction, and when you are acting it out, it is what? It is drama. So the forms of imitation could be different. It could be a poem based on meter, a rhyme, melody. It could be in the form of character. Imitation could be in the form of character. Then we have, it could be in the form of acting or by telling a story. Now, coming to the next term, major terms and ideas in poetics. This particular slide contains of 3 to 4 questions. That is, number one thing, mimesis or imitation. The word mimesis is a Greek word, and in English we say it imitation. What does it mean? Representation or expression given that, for example, music is a form of mimesis. Why it is a form of mimesis? Because there is no music in real life. There is no music in real life, but we produce music. How we produce music? By imitating others, by imitating people. Okay. Then we have hubris. Hubris means pride, excessive pride, excessive pride. Then we have nemesis. Nemesis is the retribution, or when you do something wrong against somebody, the karma hits back. Something is called as nemesis, or nemesis is the goddess who enacts in retribution of punishment. Okay. I will discuss these terms, and when the practical implementation of these terms will come, I will then explain it again. Hamartia. This is the term asked so many times in so many exams. What is hamartia? Hamartia is the tragic flaw in a character, or that is his miscalculation. Okay. Then we have anagoresis. For example, I will explain hamartia a bit more. You have read a work called Hamlet. Hamlet by Shakespeare. What is the tragic flaw or hamartia in Hamlet that leads to his disaster? That is, he is confused. He is always confused, or the quality that leads to the downfall of any character. In Othello, he is always suspicious about what? He is suspicious about his wife, that what is happening with her or what she is doing. So all these things leads to hamartia, that is tragic flaw. Tragic flaw means error of judgment. Then we have anagoresis, that is recognition, when the character, the central character identifies that something is wrong with him, his miscalculation or something in his character is wrong. Then we have peripetia. Peripetia is the reversal. See, the hero is there in this tangent, and when his downfall comes, that downfall or reversal of fortune is called what? Peripetia. Then we have catharsis. Catharsis is the purgation or purification or clarification of emotions. When the emotions are clarified, purified, then it is called as catharsis. In NET, a question is asked from poetics. We will see the questions also. In which chapter Aristotle discusses catharsis? In which chapter of poetics Aristotle discusses catharsis? The answer will be book number 6, or Aristotle's poetics is divided into 26 books or 26 books, or you can say that in 26 chapters. And in chapter number 6, which is the most important chapter of this whole book, that is chapter number 6, which discusses about the tragedy and catharsis. So this is the question asked in various exams. Remember book number 6, book number 6. And what he defines? He defines that tragedy is an imitation of an action. Very, very important line. Tragedy is an imitation of an action. Imitation, I have already told you, that is mimesis. Imitation of an action. Okay. Imitation of an action that is complete, that is serious, complete, and of certain magnitude. It is serious means tragedy or the genre of writing, it will be serious, it will be of certain magnitude, it has to be serious in nature, it has to be in an embellished language, and with each kind of artistic ornament that being found in the separate parts of play. Yeah, this portion, from this portion to this portion, that is an imitation of an action that is serious, complete, and of certain magnitude. This complete line is very important. It is as it is asked in exams. Then you have a tragedy is first and foremost the representation of human action. So what is tragedy? According to Aristotle in poetics, he describes about three forms. First is tragedy. 3 forms of drama. Okay, first is tragedy, second is epic, and third is comedy. And in comedy, for comedy we have no substance. All the substance are lost. We don't have much information about the comedy. But for tragedy and epic we have very much information, and especially tragedy. So tragedy is first and foremost the representation of human action. It represents what the humans do and how they behave in a certain situation. The action represented have serious and often dire means you can say ill, you know, ill or very disturbing consequences, and the characters represented are evaluated in social status. The plot is complete. The plot of the tragedy has to be complete, coherent. Coherent means follow a structure, whole and lasting, long enough to represent adequacy and reversal of the hero's fortune. The fortune of the hero has to get reversed. Okay. The language is not that much important. Then we have the mode of imitation in tragedy is drama. As I have said, the mode of tragedy would be drama. It could not be written, the tragedy could not be written in fiction or in non-fiction works. It has to be, the representation has to be in the drama. Tragedy arouses pity and fear. What tragedy arouses? It arouses pity and fear in a person's heart and brings about catharsis. Catharsis, that is purgation of emotions. You have seen movies. In movies like, for example, we have different tragic movies and the hero suffers, and by seeing the suffering of the hero, we all suffer with him. So coming to the next part, that is एरिस्टोटल डिवाइड्स ट्रेजेडी इनटू 6 पार्ट, 6 पार्ट्स में डिवाइड किया एरिस्टोटल ने ट्रेजेडी को. वी हैव द फर्स्ट दैट इज द प्लॉट एंड द इम्पॉर्टेंस इज in the numbers. For example, the first one, plot, is the most important, then the second, character is important, then third, thought, then diction, and least important is spectacle. The foremost important part of tragedy is plot. So plot or mythos, this is a Greek word, mythos, then character, ethos, then we have character called as ethos in Greek language, then we have Dainonia or thought or theme, then we have lexis, lexis is the diction or speech, then we have melos, melos is the music, and then we have spectacle. So we will discuss each of the components of any tragedy which makes a tragedy in its best form. The elements of tragedy. Aristotle presents the components in order of their importance, as I have already told you. The first is the plot. Plot refers to the organization of incidents. Plot is what? Organization of incidents. ठीक है? It should imitate an action evoking pity and fear. What a plot should do? First of all, it should imitate life. है ना? Imitate life, and by imitating life or any action regarding to the life, it evokes pity and fear in the mind of audience. The plot involves a change of form from bad towards good. What will happen? You have studied many such dramas. For example, Hamlet we will take, very famous work, Hamlet. What happens in Hamlet? Hamlet is a good scholar. He has studied from Denmark, है ना? He has studied from various colleges, and what will happen to him? And taking revenge of his father's death, he comes to a situation where the whole family is destroyed. So the fortune comes from bad to good. Complex plots have reversal and recognition. Complex plot is also explained. Then what is complex plot? Complex plot, a plot within a plot. Okay, a plot is there, a big plot is there, and within a big plot there are many other plots. Okay, now coming to the next thing, makes remarkable content that most tragic, good characters towards the most tragic plot pushes the good character towards misfortune or mistake. By a mistake, the fortune of a character comes down, and that mistake is called as hamartia. Hamartia is the mistake or error of judgment. Mistake or error of judgment. Error of judgment. Okay. Then, especially from peripetia, that is reversal of situation. Then we have character. The second most important in the The second most important characteristic of any tragedy is after plot, that is character. Character is the second most important after plot. Tragedy depicts characters as they relate the action. What did they do? They relate the action to the object of representation. Who is representing the action? The character is representing the action. That's why Aristotle put character in the second place. And character represents their moral qualities through the speeches assigned to them by the dramatist. In perfect tragedy, character will support the plot. What the character do? Character will always support the plot. And main character should be good. See, in tragedy, the hero or the main character has to be inherently good. He cannot be a bad person. He cannot be a immoral person. Why Aristotle shows it? Because whenever bad happens to a good person, then it hits very objectively to people. Understood? Whenever bad happens to good people, whenever anything bad happens to good people, then it hits to the core of the audience. That's why he says that the hero should be, or the main character has to be good. This is the important point. Next, then we have third one, that is the thought. Thought is nothing but the decisions or the represented values shown by the character. Then diction. Diction is how the play is composed by the writer. Then songs and melody described by chorus. Chorus, the term chorus means a group of people explaining the incidents of drama through songs. Understood? A group of people. There were so many people, and these people explain the whole drama by singing it. That is called as chorus. So chorus is important. You have to put a chorus. Then you have spectacle. Spectacle means audience. That is of least important. So what we have discussed? We have discussed about drama. And in drama, the form is tragedy. And what is tragedy? Tragedy is an imitation of an action. Imitation of an action which is serious and has certain magnitude. Magnitude means of certain importance. कुछ importance होना चाहिए उसका. Then we have what? Then what we have discussed? The 6 components of tragedy. The 6 important components of writing tragedy. What are the 6 important components? The first and the foremost important is plot. Plot is the structure of the drama. Then we have character. Then we have thought. Then we have diction. 5th one is song or melody, and 6th one is spectacle or audience. Spectacle, the root word comes from specs, देखने वाले. Then in chapter number 7 and 9, what Aristotle discussed? He discusses about the difference between poetry and history. Poetry is related to what may happen. जो हो सकता है वो बताती है क्या? पोएट्री. एंड हिस्ट्री व्हाट हैज हैपेंड, जो हो चुका था उसके बारे में हिस्ट्री बताती है. इट एक्सप्लेन्स अबाउट द फिलोसॉफिकल आइडिया ऑफ लाइफ. पोएट्री एक्सप्लेन्स अबाउट द फिलोसॉफिकल आइडिया ऑफ लाइफ एंड हिस्ट्री एक्सप्लेन्स अबाउट द फैक्चुअल आइडिया ऑफ लाइफ. व्हाट आर द फैक्ट्स? Then poetry expresses the universal. There were universal problems discussed in poetry, and in history a particular problem is discussed. then it infuses a universal appeal by stressing what have in common. So we are all human beings, we have common problems, so poetry discusses about those common problems, and in history we have particular place, thing or other things were there. So Aristotle's views on poetry and how he defends it. Aristotle calls poets an imitator. What he calls? A poet an imitator. And what he imitates? The things that as they were. पोएट क्या इमिटेट करता है? वो चीज़ों को इमिटेट करता है जो चीज़ जैसी है वैसी, और जो चीज़ जैसी होनी चाहिए, या फिर जो चीज़ जैसी सोची गई है. तो ये तीनों में से एक का इमिटेशन होगा. Then Aristotle believes that there is a natural pleasure in imitation. Human being feels very natural when they imitate something. How we learn language? By imitating others. है ना? So it comes naturally to us. Unlike Plato, Aristotle does not consider the poet's imitation of life as twice removed from reality, but reveals universal truth. I have already explained you what is this statement, twice removed from reality. There is an ideal situation, then there is a real situation, and then there is an imaginary situation. So imaginary situation is twice removed from reality, from ideal situation and then from real situation. Then in chapter 10 and 12, in exam we have questions like in which chapter peripeteia and anagoresis is described. So in chapter 10 and 12, remember these chapters. Peripeteia is the reversal of fortune, and anagoresis is the discovery or recognition, when the main character discovers that he has done something wrong, and because of that wrong thing he is what? He is facing certain problems. He is facing certain problems. Okay. Now coming to the next point, in chapter 12, Aristotle discusses the quantitative elements of tragedy. These are very important. 3 quantitative qualities he has discussed, that is, the parode is the first or the full statement of the chorus, parode, okay. Then the second is the satismon or the choral song, and then we have the exode. So parode, satismon and exode. What are these? When the chorus discusses or explains the whole drama, it is divided into 3 parts. The parode is the first full statement of the chorus. For example, in Dr. Faustus, what the chorus described, that he is a scholar from Wittenberg, he was a very learned person. So this description is called as parode. Then satismon is the song which comes in between the drama. Then we have everything that follows the last choral. The last choral means the last song of the chorus representation. Then in chapter 13, Aristotle explains hamartia. Hamartia is a very important term. It is always asked in exams. Aristotle points out that the meaning of hamartia is the error of judgment, when the main character is not able to judge what has happened, or the fatal flaw. For example, if a person lies or tells lies, what would be his hamartia? His hamartia would be telling lies, and because of telling lies he has to face certain consequences. That error of judgment or fatal flaw in the character. For example, somebody is very proud, or he has pride. So what would be the hamartia? Hamartia would be excessive pride. अतिशयोक्ति, किसी चीज का बहुत ज्यादा होना. Chapter 15, we have 4 requirements of tragic hero. So in chapter 15, Aristotle explains how a tragic hero could be. He has to be good, as I have told you, because anything bad happens to a good person will hit the audience. Appropriate, he has to be well in a well stature, or has to be very appropriate according to his character. For example, he is a king. Our tragic hero is a king, so he has to be a very good king and very appropriate king. He could not be a king that don't give attention to his kingdom. So not that has not to be there in the quality of a tragic hero. He has to be consistent. He has to be consistent in making his actions. So if he does not take any action, how he will commit any crime, or how he will commit any hamartia. So consistently inconsistent means he has to make mistakes after mistakes. Consistently he would be making what? He would be making mistakes, and this would lead to his downfall or reversal of fortune. Then in chapter 16 to 18, he explains about 6 different types of anagoresis. Every play consists of dices, that is complication, and luisis, that is denouement. So what happens is, every play consists of complications. If there will be no complications, there will be no story. So a story or a tragedy or a drama, anything that could be written, has to have what? Has to have a complication, has to have problems. So Dionysus is everything leading up to the moment of peripetia, and Lucius is everything which will everything from peripetia onwards. I will explain this later. There are 4 distinct kinds of tragedy. 4 टाइप की ट्रेजेडी है जो एरिस्टोटल ने एक्सप्लेन किया है. दैट इज द ट्रेजेडी ऑफ सफरिंग, व्हेन द मेन कैरेक्टर सफर्स. Then we have tragedy of character, and then we have tragedy of spectacle. Now coming to chapter number 23 and 24, Aristotle turns his attention to epic poetry. See what I have told you, epic poetry is also explained by Aristotle. So in epic poetry, mimesis of tragedy is in action told dramatic form. Mimesis of epic poetry is in narrative form. Okay. So what is there? What is the difference between tragedy and epic poetry? Both are mimesis. Both are imitation. Both are depiction or repetition of something. But in epic poetry, the form of writing epic poetry is in verse form. Poetry is always written in meter. Okay, meter and rhyme is there, and in drama we have no meter or rhyme. So that is the main difference. Aristotle notes that there is a number of similarity between tragedy and epic. So he has also told what are the similarity between tragedy and epic. Epic poetry must share many of the elements of tragedy. Like tragedy, it should be either simple or complex. For example, we have learned that tragedy is simple or complex. Epic poetry must maintain the unity of plot. Epic poetry must also maintain the unity of plot. Aristotle is admirer of Homer's almost example. So whatever examples he gives in his poetics is related to Homer and his work Odysseus. Then the last chapter, chapter number 26, explains that tragedy is superior to the epic poetry. In fact, it is superior to all other forms of expression. All other forms of expression, it is superior to all other forms of expression. Now, okay, this has ended. I would like to brief the whole matter. So, once again, we have literary criticism. What is literary criticism? Literary criticism is an evaluation of literary text. And what is literary text? Anything which is related to literature. Okay? Evaluation of literary text is called as literary criticism. Now, in literary criticism, we have various schools of criticism, and one of those school is Greek criticism, or you can say Greco-Roman. Roman in Roman in Roman period we have Longinus, that is the next chapter in this series. Then we have in Greek criticism we have an writer called Aristotle. Aristotle is there. Who has written a work in about 338 BC or something. Okay, approximate date is given, there is no exact date, and that work is called as poetics. And we have one more work that is important, that is rhetorics. But in our syllabus we have only poetics. You have to study poetics. So in poetics, what Aristotle explains? In poetics, Aristotle explains about imitation. Why he explains about imitation? Because his teacher, who is Aristotle's teacher? Plato said that all the poets are of no use. They are breeding grounds of immorality. All the poetry, all the drama is immoral in nature. Why it is immoral in nature? Because it is twice removed from ideality or ideal state. Okay, it is twice removed from ideal state, and because imitation is the, or imagination you can say, imagination is the most important thing in writing. If you cannot imagine what is the story, how you could write it? So imagination or imitation, Plato said that it is not a good form and nobody has to imitate and nobody has to follow these kinds of things. And his disciple, who is Aristotle, he said that no, imitation is most important, because why imitation is important? Because when we imitate something, we learn from it. How could you learn? By imitation only. You have learned language by imitating your elders. You have learned everything by imitation, by following others, by looking at others. So this is there. Okay. So he said that mimesis or imitation is important. Okay. Then he explains how a drama could be written. You know drama, what is drama? We have four major forms of writing, that is drama, poetry, fiction and non-fiction. Drama is representation of an action in dialogue form. Dialogue is there, so that's why it is called as drama. So in drama, in drama we have what? Tragedy. Okay, In drama we have tragedy. And what is tragedy? Tragedy is an imitation of life or actions led in life or actions led in life. Understood? Okay, imitation of life or action led in life. So what are the ways of writing a good tragic drama? So 6 tragedy. We have 6 components, and the most important is in the first and the least important is in the last. First is what? Plot. Then we have character. Then we have thought. Then we have diction, song or music. Then we have spectacle. These are the 6 components of writing a good tragedy. And in plot has to follow 3 unities. That is unity of place, unity of time, and unity of action. A play has to be in a single place. For example, a place, if the setting is in any city, for example Raipur, so the place has to be Raipur only. You cannot shift the place from Raipur to then Bilaspur to then any other place. Time has to be 24 hours. That is the 1 revolution of the sun. Then action has to be of certain magnitude. Okay. Trivial actions could not be performed. Trivial means superficial actions could not be performed. The action has to be serious in nature. It has to be serious. Otherwise it would be a comedy, not tragedy. Understood? So these are the things explained by Aristotle in his work called Poetics. I hope you have understood, and I would like to explain again some important terms we have discussed earlier. Yes, this slide is very important. I will explain it again. So, mimesis is imitation or representation of any action of the real world, imitation of anything. Hubris is excessive pride. This is the main flaw in most of the tragic heroes. Then we have Nemesis. Nemesis is the goddess who enacts an retribution of a punishment. You will get punishment if you will make mistake. That is called as Nemesis. Hamartia is the miscalculation or error, tragic flaw, fatal error. Fatal means what? Fatal means what? That could lead you to death. Okay. And in tragedy, that death is certain. Somebody has to die in tragedy. So anagoresis is a recognition. When the character recognizes that I have done something wrong. I have done what? I have done something wrong. That is the recognition or anagoresis. Then you have peripetia. Peripetia is the reversal of fortune. When the good person or honest person suffers, his fortune reverses from good to bad. What happened? From good to bad. Okay. Then we have catharsis, very important term. Catharsis means purification, purgation, clarification of emotions. Then we have denouement. Denouement is the plot structure, exposition or the rising. See, I will explain denouement here. I have told you. Denouement is like this. You have a graph and it is like this. That is the action of tragedy, action of tragedy, and rising action. This is the rising action, okay, rising action. This is the falling action, falling action, okay. So, and this whole thing is called action of tragedy or plot structure. You can also write it down as denouement, Greek word denouement, okay, or the plot structure. Exposition, we have in this area we have what? We have exposition. Exposition, from where a tragedy starts. Then we have rising action. Then we have climax. Climax is the turning point of the story. Turning point of story. Then we have falling action. Then we have what? Then we have end or denouement. Then we have end or denouement. Understood? This is the plot structure given by Aristotle. Now, okay, then coming back to the questions, we have some questions. Okay, what happened? Shit. What? We have some questions related to poetics. Okay, let me open that PDF. I couldn't be able to do so, so I will explain it here only. What are the questions? The first question is, who defined hamartia as a tragic flaw? Who defined hamartia as a tragic flaw? And the answer would be Aristotle. Who defined hamartia as a tragic flaw? The answer would be Aristotle. Aristotle defined hamartia as a tragic flaw. Then who translated poetics in Latin? Important question, previous year question. Who translated poetics in Latin? किसने ट्रांसलेट किया था लैटिन लैंग्वेज में? किसने लैटिन में ट्रांसलेट किया था? द आंसर इज Gregorio Valla. Okay, he is a Latin writer. Then we have in Aristotle's poetics we read the imitation of an action. Imitation of an action that is serious and has certain magnitude. What it is called? It is called as tragedy. Tragedy. Okay. These are all previous year questions. Let me find out the slide. I am unable to find it out. Let me see from where we can have that. Yeah, here we go. So, who defined hamartia as tragic flaw? किसने hamartia को बताया था as a tragic flaw? The answer is Aristotle. Aristotle defined hamartia as a tragic flaw. Then who among the following translated Aristotle's poetics in Latin? In Latin, who translated Aristotle's poetics? What will be the answer? What will be the answer? The answer will be Gigario Valla. He translated poetics in Latin language. Then, in which year he translated or it is published? It is a Greek manuscript, है ना, from which he translated and published in 1498. In Aristotle's poetics, we read that it is an imitation of an action that is complete, whole, and of certain magnitude. Have a beginning, a middle, and an end. I have explained you the falling action, rising action. This all comes under this particular definition. What will be the answer? The answer will be tragedy. In which chapter of poetics does Aristotle use the word catharsis in his definition of tragedy? Very important previous year net question है, net का ही question है. I will attach the year also. You can see that. The answer is chapter number 6. In chapter number 6, Aristotle defines catharsis and also tragedy. Then we have Aristotle argued that poetry provides an dash outlet for the release of intense emotions. So, what intense emotions को release करने के लिए what outlet Aristotle provides? It is a safe outlet. Not a dangerous, not uncertain, not reliable, but it is a safe outlet from which we can purgate our emotions, Then we have sixth question. Which of the following is true of Aristotle's critical position? Writers are likely to be mere entertainers who appeal to the emotions and passions of the audience. Texts created by poets are almost inevitably inaccurate and defective as imitators. The best artist text will be both complex and unified. Every part of the work will be essential to it and will be linked to the other part. Text should be judged on the basis of how accurately they emit philosophical ideas. So what will be the answer? Aristotle's critical position is that the best artist or the best author, the best writer is the one who unifies the work with the other part. So the whole is connected to the part and the part is connected to the whole. So it has to be complete in itself. So answer will be the C part or the third one. Which of the following statement is true about Aristotle's poetics? He asserted that the value of poetry by integrating rhetoric and imitation, that is mimesis. He asserted that the value of poetry by focusing on both rhetoric and imitation. Rhetoric का तो जिक्र हुआ ही नहीं है. We have not studied about rhetoric. तीन आप options देखेंगे तो rhetoric is there. You can delete it and you will be having your answer. He asserted that the value of poetry by focusing on imitation rather than rhetoric. हमको rhetoric पे कम focus करना है. We have to focus upon the mimesis or the imitation. Then the last question, Who among the following was in the view that poetry was only imitation and therefore it is trivial? किसने कहा था कि पोएट्री जो है imitation of an imitation, आइडियल का इमिटेशन है रियल से, देन इट इज ट्वाइस रिमूव फ्रॉम रियलिटी. Who will be the who is the one who stated that? Aristotle? No, Aristotle is not the answer. Plato is the one who said that it is an imitation of an imitation, therefore it is trivial. Trivial means होता है तुच्छ, फालतू. Okay, thank you so much. I hope you have read something meaningful from this class. Thank you very much.
एक